Okay, we're back with some Jurassic Park Card Game previews. We're going to preview the remaining species that have not yet been revealed on the primary release of the game. This is only 5 instead of the typical 6 I do for preview videos, but it's all that's left, so we can't add any more. I will say, I have designed the dinosaurs for both a potential Camp Cretaceous expansion and a potential Dominion expansion, both of which I do intend to do. I just don't want to, fully commit to creating these things at this time, just in case I run into any other issues or anything comes up. But, yeah. I intend to have those as full expansions. Worst case scenario, if they're canceled, I'll release the dinosaurs just by themselves. So, yeah. This is primarily centered around Jurassic World era species that don't show up in the films. With a couple of exceptions of just dinosaurs that we've skipped or missed or haven't had an opportunity to include previously. So first off, Suchomimus, arguably a InGen species from Site B due to dialogue in Jurassic Park 3. Billy thinks that the Spino could be possibly a Baryonyx, which we know exists in the InGen DNA libraries because it's one of the exhibited species in the original Jurassic Park. Second thing he guesses is Suchomimus, which implies that Suchomimus exists on Site B before Jurassic World, because why else would he pick specifically those two Spinosaurids to guess that the Spino is, and then express doubt that it's a Spinosaurus, because that's not on InGen's list, right? The dialogue implies Sucho was on InGen's list. Not the point of this video, just a thing. So Suchomimus, of course, as I said, a Spinosaurid. It follows the template of Baryonyx and Spinosaurus a bit, where each of them has this fishing mechanic where they interact with the discard pile, retrieving cards from it in some particular way. Suchomimus is kind of a downgraded version of Spinosaurus, where instead of picking a card from a discard pile, you get a random one. It's still a free card, that's still pretty good. But yeah, that's the difference between, Spinosaurus is a headliner, that's a big commitment, so you get to pick the card. This is something you could slot into any deck if you want some recursion, therefore you don't get to pick. 4 fame, pretty typical stats otherwise. 3/3 is on the high end, but not crazy. 2 income is pretty reasonable for 4 fame. Yeah, not too much else to say about this. Next, Microceratus. Microceratus is a Jurassic World species. Of course, it shows up in Dominion. I am using the website art for Microceratus for the main release, but when the Dominion set releases, there'll be an alternate art version of Microceratus released with a Dominion picture. I didn't want to start getting into Dominion for the release, even though we didn't get it out before the film. But since Microceratus is canon to the films previous to Dominion, I wanted to include it as a species. Microceratus is a pretty low-tier dinosaur, 3 fame, 1 income. Rarities is only a 4, nice, cheap, early-game stuff. Very low ferocity, however, they are a little bit hard to contain. I intend the security rating to be a reference to the novels more than anything, where the Microceratus can climb. They spend time in trees. So the Microceratus here are not dangerous, but can be a little bit hard to contain for a low-rank species like this. They're another Ceratopsian. Interestingly enough, this set of preview images is going to have a lot of Ceratopsians in it. It's 3 Ceratopsians out of all 5 of the cards. And that's just a weird quirk of, World era, is there's just a lot of Ceratopsians introduced to the franchise, which is interesting. So the thing with Ceratopsians is that they have chaos effects. That was the design space I went for on them, is the Ceratopsians would all have their own little effects that were triggered off of particular chaos effect draws. So if you have a park full of Ceratopsians, generally you'll get a chaos effect that'll trigger one species basically every turn. They all have different numbers, is what I mean by that. So Microceratus is chaos effect 0. And, another thing I'll point out here is the chaos effect numbers are basically decided roughly by the number of horns, with some, creative liberties taken in that. So Microceratus, chaos effect 0, because it's got no horns at all. Triceratops, which we've seen previously, was chaos effect 3. And yeah, so Microceratus here, chaos effect 0. And then it eats cards out of other players' trash. This is a reference specifically to the Jurassic World website, which states that Microceratus is known for eating garbage in the park. There's like a little thing on the website, like, don't litter, because Microceratus will eat your trash and get sick, and don't be an asshole. So that's why I had it interact with the trash. There's like very minimal lore for like Microceratus beyond the website for Jurassic World, so there's not much to go off of. Much like the last species video, we had to take some creative liberties to come up with effects, but it still felt pretty thematic, so I was pretty happy with this. And yeah, so trash is the discard pile. Pick a card out of the trash is pick a card out of the discard pile. Then extinct means removed from the game. So that card is not able to be retrieved by something like Suchomimus. It's been removed entirely. Next, Pseudoceratops. This is a Battle at Big Rock card, of course. Battle at Big Rock being the last franchise thing included in the primary release. The Pseudo and the adult Allosaurus draw from that. Again, the Ceratopsian, a bit more expensive than the Micro. And yet, it still only produces 1 income and 3 fame. The big thing here is the fact that it's a pretty decent draw effect. Low odds of triggering, but when it triggers, drawing 2 cards is really good. Again, 2 horns, Chaos Effect 2, draw 2. That's what I was going for there. I kind of had a list of like, these are the things I want to trigger off Chaos Effect, right? I want a Chaos Effect that draws some cards. I want a Chaos Effect that affects money, a Chaos Effect that affects fame. And then I looked at the Ceratopsians we had and picked which ones I thought it made the most sense with. Either based upon some sort of theme or based upon just the number balance, right? If I'm doing, draw cards, gain income, fame, those are all like things that I can attach a number to. So like draw cards, draw 2, draw 3, draw 4. It's like 3 and 4 are a little too powerful. Draw 2 is strong, but not crazy. So that's why this became the Pseudo and draw 2. Yeah, not too much else to say about it. There's not too much to draw from for Pseudoceratops in, previous Dominion. Even in Dominion, it doesn't really do much of anything. I might do an alt art Pseudo for Dominion release as well. Maybe from the prologue with the big herd or something. Because I'm not a big fan of this image, but this is about as good of a picture as you could freaking get from Battle at Big Rock, which is a fantastic short film, but is very dark. Very hard to source images from. Yeah. Fairly basic, fairly simple. Pachyranosaurus. This is an interesting one. Pachyranosaurus is confirmed canon to the franchise because its name shows up in Fallen Kingdom in the auction. Except, technically, that's like a production error because that is actually referring to Sinoceratops. But I consider a name in a film to be canon, and DPG agrees with me on that, so it's canon. So we're including it in the card game because I wanted every canon species. I ended up cutting Teratophonius and Peloroplites because it's impossible to source images for that without just picking something from the internet that's fan art or unrelated paleo art. I didn't want to do either of those. Now you might say, well, this Pachyranosaurus image, where is this from? This is from a actual Jurassic-themed exhibit, like a kind of a, I don't know if it's a museum, I don't remember if it's a museum exhibit kind of thing to tie into the films and, get people out, or if it was just a little animatronic dinosaur show thing or something like that. But this is actually a Jurassic Park Pachyranosaurus, or a Jurassic World Pachyranosaurus, from something. I've forgotten what it was. I sourced this image years ago, and I've just been holding it for this. So I do not remember. Again, Ceratopsian stats are very similar, actually identical to Pseudoceratops. It's about, that same kind of scale Ceratopsian roughly, so that tracks. Ceratopsians are generally more fierce, with the exception of Microceratus, than they are hard to contain. Because, we see the Triceratops in the original Jurassic Park behind a relatively small wire fence. It's not behind some big electric fence. It's just like a fence you'd contain cows behind or something. But, a Triceratops or a Ceratopsian, when threatened, it can fight. We see the Sinoceratops with the Carnotaurus. We see the Pseudos drive off the Allo. Like, the Ceratopsians put up a good fight against carnivores. So that's why the ferocity is higher than the security rating generally in the flavor. Pachyranosaurus, Chaos Effect 4. This is a 4 more just because you know, 3 Triceratops, 2 Pseudo. 1 was originally Sinoceratops before that was adjusted to be a starter. And then 0 was Microceratus. So where does Pachyranosaurus go? Well, it goes to 4 because that was the number left over. 4 also kind of feels correct for something with a big, you know, chunky horn on its nose that isn't really a horn. It's a big lump of bone. Or you can count the 2 horns in the middle of the frill and the 2 curving horns off the top, and then you get the 4. It works. I think 4 is a fine number. But then, yeah, this is the income generator one where you get the chaos effect and you make some extra money. So, yeah, chaos effect 4 makes 4 for the turn, plus 3 on top of the base one. Gets you to 4. Yeah. So, fairly basic dinosaur again, like the Microceratus. It doesn't have the cost increase that the Pseudo does because the Pseudo effect is definitely more powerful than this effect, but the balance is in the cost. You can't get a Pseudo out very early. You can get a Pachyranosaurus out turn 1. Pseudo is going to be, you know, a few turns later. So that's the difference between the cost balance there. And finally, we never went over Indominus Rex. He got bumped from the Jurassic World video for the other things. Not sure why I did that at the time, to be honest, but here we are. Indominus Rex is pretty fierce, ferocity 5. Security rating of 4. Because, yeah, it's hard to contain and dangerous. So 5 and a 4. It's a headliner, so it gets 5 fame, which is a unique trait for headliners, at least so far. Income of 4 puts it ahead of every other headliner that has a fixed income total in the primary release. The Indominus Rex was cloned because Jurassic Park's profits were waning or whatever, and they wanted some new crazy big ticket thing to draw in a lot of people. Well, that's why the income is 4, right? It's a big ticket, the big ticket dinosaur to draw in new guests to your park. And of course, gold text on the title because it's a headliner. The rarity cost 14 makes it one of the most expensive dinosaurs in the game. I think behind the Indoraptor. If I remember correctly, Indoraptor might be 16. So second most expensive. It is a hybrid and a theropod. It gets no additional clades. It is considered a generic unclassified theropod due to the mixture of genetics that are in it. The only hybrid in the primary release that gets an additional clade subtype is Indoraptor as a raptor because it draws a lot more from raptor genetics, and it has raptor in the title. And it would feel weird if Indoraptor was not a raptor. When Scorpius Rex and the Sino-Spino come out, the Scorpius Rex is not going to be a raptor because I think it's equally as much a Ceratosaurian and a Velosaur as it is a raptor. And because of the way card spacing works, I don't want to overdo clade types. So because it, you know, draws kind of equally between the two different clades, Scorpius Rex will just be like Indominus Rex, a carnivore hybrid theropod. That's not true for Sino-Spino. The Sino-Spino is very much dominant ceratopsian genetics, so that will be a hybrid ceratopsian. Plus, any herbivore hybrid needs some sort of additional clade because they don't have a theropod to fall back on. Also, I just noticed theropod is missing an O. Whoops. Any spelling errors on these guys? No, that one's good. I just fucked this one up. I'll fix that later. And yeah, when the Indominus Rex is cloned, you get to injure a species in a rival park. In Jurassic World, the Indominus Rex kills its sibling upon birth, or shortly thereafter, I don't remember exactly, and that's the inspiration here for this effect. Of course, you don't want to kill your own dinosaur, so you get to use the Indominus Rex for game effects, for game reasons, to injure somebody else's dinosaur. Also puts it into a very unique spot of being a species that has a negative effect on another player, which is pretty powerful. There aren't many dinosaurs that interact with other players directly like this. Dilophosaurus, Indominus Rex, those are the big ones. There's, you know, there'll be some other ones, but we're not going to get into those right now. I don't think there are any other ones in the primary release, though. Nothing's coming to mind. I think that was it for the ones that interact with it in the primary release. But we got a few designs in the can for later that have interactions as well. So, yeah, that actually brings us to the end here of the previews. So that'll be it for all the species in the primary release. I want to do at least one more preview video, maybe two, depending a little bit upon how progress goes with writing up the rules, which I'm not going to lie, I have not started writing up the rule book. I really need to. I really should. It's just so hard to find the time to do it, and the energy, to be honest. I really like designing games, but documentation sucks, and I need to be better at it. All right, let's leave this video here. Catch you later.